From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, this is a Headache Soul production. Welcome to Just the Tip-Sters, America's favorite true crime podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Morgan. With me today is my handsome and talented co-host, Joshua Morphine Bevan.
Morphine?
You're a slow-moving dope.
Oh, no.
I like that one. How about you? You put people to sleep.
Yeah,
You're very relaxing.
A lot of people like morphine, so I'm all right.
We
I guess.
love it. We all love the morphine. The Joshua Morphine Bevan.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. That was a good one.
Yeah.
That made me happy. So how are you this week, my beloved?
Oh, I'm doing great.
You are doing great. You are so wonderful and good to me. Even though I say terrible things about him, I love Joshua with all of my heart.
Oh, thank you.
And when I say things like, I can't do it today, can you make it tomorrow? He's like, absolutely, because he is the kindest, most, flexible human being. And I'm so grateful for him because yesterday was a bit of a thing. I went to a family law estate planning attorney. And I do feel a lot better
For your stuff.
Yeah,
Okay,
my massive estate.
Your massive estate.
Yeah.
No. I was wondering if it was like leftover from Mark's things.
No.
Okay.
Mark, the legal eagle, kind of didn't prepare. He prepared in some ways to take care of me because he got life insurance, which came with his company.
Oh, okay.
Which was great. And California is very bizarre. My name was on the mortgage loan as well as the deed. And so I get spousal survivorship kind of automatically.
Oh, okay.
But there's something called the St. Germain law in California. I know people that have had terrible experiences. Either they were living with their significant other and not married, and don't have a will, don't have a trust, and you go through probate,
right?
Which is about $25,000. Who has that?
No,
I don't.
No,
So I was one of the lucky ones. I was married to Mark.
Good.
So when I ever go to sell this house, which the whole point is I'm trying to hang on to it because I love it, I can have his name, with the death certificate removed, an affidavit, having him removed from the deed so I can sell it without.
To sell it. Okay.
Yeah. Planning your estate and who gets what. By the way, Joshua, you get everything.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me.
Including Siren? Do I get Siren?
Oh, that's number one.
Okay.
You have to take her. And then you get the rest of the shit.
Only if you take half bag of dog
her.
Food.
Yeah, right. It's expensive though.
It's expensive.
It's raw, freeze-dried food.
I've seen the layers and layers of stuff you put in her bowl.
I do. And chicken broth.
Broth.
Eat
and
it.
Then the topper.
Yes.
And then
yes, the bitch eats better than I do.
Yeah. Okay.
But you know what helps me do something stressful, like planning my estate?
What's that?
Taking Magic Mind.
Oh.
I couldn't get by without it. I love the fact that they are in 2025 talking about prioritizing yourself, and this is called your mental wealth. I love that. It's something that, there are pillars to our lives that we, need to follow, like getting enough sleep, eating the right food, maybe, exercise. I don't like that one, but stress management, but taking something extra. Maybe it's like the topper in Siren's Food.
The topper. It is.
It is worth every single penny that it would cost you to bring some clarity and some calmness to your world. Magic Mind mental performance shot is amazing. The Magic Mind sleep elixir is fantastic. I can't think of one person who doesn't need something, a little extra. I have, as you can tell, a little bit of a nasally thing with my allergies, and I had a handful of like vitamin C and stuff and Zyrtec. And Josh was like, "What are all your pills?" And I was like, "I know, I'm an old lady." But you know what? Magic Mind keeps me level and calm. And it is definitely one of the tools in my tool belt for my mental wealth. I do find it, a section of my wealth when I'm talking about, planning my future, my trust for, Joshua, who gets everything. If you are, looking for something to help you maybe get over the hump or keep you, a little more even during difficult days, please consider, getting the 24-hour pack, which is the daytime sleep elixirs, the nighttime sleep elixirs, and it's a bundle, and it's 20% off if you, consider doing this. The code is TIPS20. That's TIPSIS20. Tips is 20. So consider doing that for yourself because you're worth it. But this is a trust versus a will, which I'm sure some of my listeners are so incredible and smart, they'll know the difference. I did not. Even a will, if you state what you want done, has to go through probate.
Oh,
you got to
okay.
pay for it. A living revocable trust is you going, Bob can have that, Dave can have that, Sally has that.
And that, okay, so you go through the trust all before anything
and
hits probate. So if there's nothing left, you don't have to go through probate?
Right.
Got it.
It's a recorded document with the court, and it's just like, who's your trustee? My best friend, Bob.
Cool.
And he says, okay, you get this, you get this, you get this. And that's it. End of story.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you pay for a lawyer ahead of time to set it up for you.
And I gotta be honest, this man is magnificent.
Cool.
If you're in the Santa Clarita Valley, I know it's a very small part of my audience. His name is Edward Kent, and he is in Valencia, and he is been in the business for 30 years. He was an insurance adjuster before that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He is magnificent. And here is a lead. If you need him, please let me know. I'll even put his information in the show notes because I love him so much. He is I met him through our beloved Bronwyn, who started the group for widows and widowers. That's not like his specialty, is dealing with widows and widowers. But a lot of times people don't, take care of something until something tragic happens quickly. And then they're like, I'm not protected. No one else is in my family's protected. I don't have kids, so it's a little different for me. I don't have brothers and sisters, because he said, yeah, this is good that we figure out who gets what, because I don't know where we'd go to find your, closest family member. And I go, I don't either. Try, Mars or something at wherever the Alpha Draconians live. You might find somebody there who's like, oh yeah, she's one of ours. I don't know. My parents are gone. My grandparents are gone. No siblings. My mom was an only child. It would be difficult for them to find. Yeah. Absolutely. I was like, you'd have to go through DNA testing or something. But he is so magnificent. He's so compassionate and kind and funny. Funny as fuck. I love him. I love him. I love him. I will put his, name and number in the show notes. But here is something else. We're talking and he says, so what do you do? And I go, well, nothing now. I just got out of school. By the way, I got my certification in the mail.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good work.
Can't wait to hang it up. I am now officially a crime and intelligence analyst. I now need something to analyze. So we're talking and I said, I host a podcast, and he said, oh my gosh, I have an unsolved homicide for you. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Huh.
It's amazing, Joshua. I can't believe I didn't tell you this, but I guess we haven't really talked this week.
Since yesterday?
Yeah, right. Well, I didn't bring it up yesterday, but so he tells me this and I'm like, okay, this is good. 1983. So what is that? 41 years? 40. Oh gosh, no, 42 years.
Right.
A 26-year-old married woman who was beloved by everyone. Mm-hmm. She was an insurance adjuster where he worked. He was a 22-year-old who got out of college and went to work immediately at like Nationwide or Allstate or something, a big company, and was an insurance adjuster.
Okay.
Kathleen Celine was 26, had gone on a jog at 6 a.m., came back from her jog, stopped at her mailbox to get her mail, and was stabbed 13 times. She made it up to the front porch where she died on the front porch, and her husband opened the door and found her.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
The neighbors saw a man dressed all in black hop over a fence.
Wow.
Right.
And that was it.
Yep. So, 2012, Ventura, and this is in Moore Park, California, the Ventura County Sheriff's Department, who I'd never dealt with. I'd heard some good, some bad, but I didn't have any personal experience. Started a cold case task force for 5 cases that were older and unsolved.
Okay.
Kathleen's was one. That was the last thing I found as far as press was 2012.
Okay.
So I called Ventura County Sheriff's Department and left a message on the cold case task force voicemail.
Okay.
Tuesday around noon. Went the rest of my day. Was at the Widows and Widowers dinner Tuesday night,
Right.
and my phone rings and it says Ventura County Sheriff's Department at 6:45.
Oh,
and I'm like, I'm so sorry, guys. It's so rude to do this at the table, but I got to take this call. So I take the call, and this is about the nicest man I've spoken to in a long time. And he is the second fastest person to call me back. And I'll tell you the first in a minute because we need to keep him in our thoughts and prayers. Second fastest person to call me back. And he is a detective sergeant. He is just a terrific guy.
Yeah.
He said, as soon as I heard your message, I recognized your voice. I've listened to your podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. That's a crazy small world.
And he said, I was on the cold case task force before, and you know how it is with law enforcement, they move you around.
Okay.
So he said, I worked on it in the past. I was transferred to a different department, and I, a month ago, was brought back in to cold cases.
Wow.
And I'm like, great. And he said, I'm familiar with the case, but I want to refresh my memory before we talk. And I said, great. And I said, is there any DNA? And he said, that's the first thing I'm going to check. And I said, are you familiar with Othram Labs? And he goes, absolutely. We've used them before.
Oh, cool. Good.
I'm like, you're a dream, dude.
Nice.
You are a dream cold case guy.
Cool.
So waiting to hear from him. And I said, we can do this any way you want. I can interview you on the podcast, or you can just give me information and I will cover the case. And he said, I said, it was a coworker of hers from, decades ago who still remembered her case and wants it solved. And he said, I'm so grateful you called. It's important to keep these cases in the top of mind.
Good.
I was just beautiful. Like, are you a plant or something, right? Are you punking me? Because you're hitting it out of the park, my friend. So the person who called me back the fastest was our beloved Rich Lopez. And 2018, I called him, and an hour later he called me back. And I remember pulling over into the parking lot of Valencia Lighting.
Okay.
Near the, they had just moved. They're near my beloved, horrible, hideous bowling alley.
Got it.
So pulled in there and we talked for like an hour and about Luana Clary. And that was the first season of this podcast. And he said, damn, girl, you know more about this case than I do. Because I was like finishing his sentences. Cool. But he gave me the biggest piece of information, which was her husband, who absolutely did it, had died on the table during a heart surgery. Oh. So, but since then we have, become friends, and I love him. And I'm wearing, a necklace he gave me that's got LASD 187, which is the California Penal Code for homicide, as well as the bulldog, which is their mascot. And we need to keep Rich and Marianne Lopez in our thoughts and prayers. They lost their house in the Eaton fire.
Oh, no.
Their house of over 30 years.
Oh, jeez.
And our beloved friend, Bridget, who lost her house. So I know 2 people who've lost their homes the same night, and the Eaton fire. And I was a little bit worried about Joshua because there was one not exactly close to his house, but the way the crow flies, it could have been.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, yeah, it was close
to your
to. It
brothers.
was my brother evacuated and
Mm-hmm.
came, and he and his family stayed with us.
Mm-hmm.
On family and dogs, and
Yeah.
everybody piled in. Yeah, that one was okay, but that felt right. That fire felt right in the middle of Santa Clarita.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the wind could have shifted.
Yes.
And yeah,
it was all
torn
about
through
the
the
wind.
middle. Yeah,
Because I know no one who isn't in this part of the country really cares about this, but
right.
the Eaton fire was about 14,000 acres. The Palisades fire is about 25,000 acres. The Lake Hughes fire near us grew from 50 to 10,000 acres in a day.
Yeah,
A day.
Yeah.
And it was blessedly not one structure.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was a lot. We live out where there are more canyons and more brush,
right.
and not as close together houses.
Right.
But if it could have been a bigger disaster than either the Palisades or the Eaton fire,
Totally.
because of the way things are built here. But the
Yeah.
wind, there were 80 to 100 mile an hour winds for Palisades and Eaton. We were at about between 20 and 30 mile an hour winds, and it makes a huge difference. Once they get past 30 miles an hour, things get a little hairy. We were right on the border of it, and that's why it exploded in that one day.
Yeah.
Exploded.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, this is what happens. This is California.
Yes. Right.
We've got
No
earthquakes
rain.
that we don't have. We have beautiful weather.
Right.
300 whatever
45 days a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had not a lot of rain in the last year. Sometimes single digit humidity, which is one of the reasons I love living here, because I hate humidity. And
it's
unprecedented 80 to 100 mile an hour winds.
Yeah.
Unprecedented. That's a perfect storm for what happened.
Yeah. And it kicked up and it happened, and
the thing is, crazy. You just don't know when you're in the path of it or what's going to happen. Yeah. But I know I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again in honor of Mark Humphreys, because it just makes me smile. 2007, we purchased this house, our first house. And 5 days later, we moved in on a Tuesday in October. 5 days later, I was teaching a yoga class in Sherman Oaks in the San Fernando Valley on a Sunday afternoon. Beautiful, sunny October, warm afternoon. When I left, there was a fire 20 miles north of us in Acton. Mm-hmm. Little kid playing with matches. Right. I'm like, it's 20 miles away. So I go teach my yoga class. I come out an hour and a half later, and the girl at the front desk hands me the phone. She goes, "It's Mark." And he goes, "Okay, honey." Sheriff came by, knocked on the door, said, "Aim the car facing out. Get the animals ready. Put any important papers in the trunk of my car. So we're ready to go. Is there anything you can think of?" And I felt like my body shut down. And we have been here 5 days. We have not unpacked. Right. Everything's still in boxes. And the first thing I think is we made the worst mistake of our life. We're going to lose everything and take the wedding pictures.
Yeah.
So he goes, "Gabby," our cat at the time, "is in the cat carrier. The dogs, I have them on leashes. We're ready to go. I packed you a bag. Everything's ready." And I'm like, okay. So I'm driving home, and at the corner of Via Princesa and Via Princesa, where it turns, if you go left, it stays the same. If you go right, it becomes White's Canyon. Right. There's a sheriff deputy posted there who's checking everyone's license because they won't let you in unless you live there. Okay. I had not had time to go to the DMV. We've been here 5 days.
Oh no.
I pull out my license and I'm like, I do live here. We just bought this house. And he goes, "Just go on." Like, I'm sure he's tired of like whiny bitches crying. Sure. So I get home. We lay in our bed on the top floor and see the fire going along the ridge of Placerita Canyon, what is now Kohl's in Target. Right. It was not there. Yeah. It was, brush. So it went parallel to our house. It did not come south, but 36 houses were burned there. God. So 2 days later, when it's pretty clear that we're okay, I get the stuff out of the car and I get my suitcase that Mark had packed for me out, and I open it up and it contains 5 bras and 5 pairs of yoga pants. No underwear, no shirts, no shoes.
He know he knew what he liked to see you
Uh-huh.
in. Yeah.
That's what all the men say. And it wasn't your everyday bras, it was your whore bras, the ones with lace. So 5 lacy bras and 5 pairs of yoga pants. And I said, Mark, can you imagine me at the Golden Valley High School shelter? I would have looked like a broke down I Dream a Genie. Just a bra and a pair of yoga pants, and all it would have been missing is like a cigarette hanging off my lip. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he's like, there's maxi dresses in the... And I'm like, no, there's not. No underwear. No underwear, no shirts, no shoes.
Oh, boy.
Yoga pants and slut bras.
Yoga pants and slut bras.
Yeah. I
That's
feel
the
like...
name of my memoir.
the Joshua Bevin story. The Joshua Morphine Bevin story. Yeah. I feel like the lesson here is never let a man pack your go bag.
Pack it ahead of time. If you had it packed ahead of time,
yeah,
it wouldn't have been on him.
I know, but I didn't know until I got back.
Sure.
We didn't. Yeah. Anyway, so that's my funny fire story. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
Anyway, so it's been an interesting time here, my beloveds. It's been an interesting time.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a little bit different of an episode. It's 2 cases, both are solved. However, the people that were murdered helped solve their own cases.
Oh.
And people that they didn't know helped solve their cases.
Okay.
All
right.
So I have many friends who are psychics and mediums. I know people that are psychic detectives who, work with the police. And I will tell you, every law enforcement agency in this great land of ours has used a psychic. Right. They may not admit it. They may not want to admit it. They may think it's still, for their people in their jurisdiction, taboo.
Right.
But they've all used a psychic. Whether the information has garnered anything worth it, that's different.
Right.
But these 2 cases are so interesting because one person was treated so differently, and one person was scorned and actually held in prison.
Oh.
For a few days.
Okay.
And she could have been there for longer because they treated her badly. And it was the LAPD.
Oh, boy.
The other case is in Chicago, and I'd never heard of it, and that's why it's fascinating to me. So I'm going to start with the one here, the one that is the most, in my mind, egregious. So Melanie Uribe, she was 31. She was a nurse. She was on her way to work, and she has an 8-year-old son. She's a divorced mother, 8-year-old son. She worked the night shift at a Presbyterian hospital in Burbank, California. She was on her way to work. She went missing. December 16th? December 16th, 19... I'm so sorry for the flipping page sound of pages. Okay. So Melanie was going to report to work at the Pacoima Memorial Presbyterian Hospital December 15th of 1980.
Okay.
And she is missing. And they put out a news report on the radio.
Okay.
That, hey, there's this nurse who's missing. She did not show up to work. She had a roommate. She and her 8-year-old son lived with a roommate. She is divorced. And the roommate said, no, she left wearing her nurse's uniform the afternoon night of the 15th. And she had a brown sweater. And over top of that, a brown leather jacket.
Okay.
And a woman hears this, and she is like a very accomplished human being. She works at at Lockheed Aerospace in Burbank. She's not like some crazy fly by night human being. Mother of 3.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Etta Smith, and she hears it on the radio. She's driving home from work, and she is like, this woman is missing. And while listening to the radio, and I'm going to say that might have had something to do with it, Etta Smith hears in her head, she is in a field at the top of a hill and it's remote. She said she didn't know if she was dead or alive,
Huh.
but she got a very clear vision
Wow.
of where she was.
Okay.
She goes to the police station in the Foothill Division
Okay.
and tells investigators, I know where she can be found.
Okay.
And they're like, okay. They found her truck, but
Right.
they didn't find her.
So Etta Smith says the location, a specific location.
To the best she can.
Okay.
She said, I believe it's a field over an embankment at the top of a hill overlooking Lakeview Terrace.
Okay. So they go to the hills in Lakeview Terrace and they find her truck, but not her body.
Right. Okay. They search the area. They even search houses around there. They don't find her. They found her truck abandoned with her nurse's uniform on the front seat.
Oh, geez. Oh, no. All right.
Etta Smith goes home after hearing they found the truck, right. Picks up 2 of her kids and a niece who's visiting. So there's 4 of them in the car. Mm-hmm. Some teens, some older.
Okay.
And they go looking around the area known as Lopez Canyon.
Okay.
In her head, she hears Melanie is not in a house. She is not in a house. She is lying out somewhere.
Oh, geez. All right.
She said she still didn't know. Is she dead? Is she injured? This is at the top of Lopez Canyon overlooking Lakeview Terrace. Right. And her daughter says there she is.
They're just driving and...
No, they're walking.
Oh, they're walking.
They drove to the top of Lopez Canyon. They went over the embankment that Etta saw 2 days earlier, reported to the police. And then they didn't find her. They found the truck, didn't find her, checked houses, not there. These 4 people find her.
Oh, boy.
They keep Etta Smith overnight, questioning her.
Yeah, how'd you know this? Yeah, for sure.
And they arrest her.
Oh, boy. Okay.
In the meantime, 3 men, one underage, 17, one 20, one 21, are bragging to their neighbors in Pacoima, we killed this bitch.
Oh, geez.
They jumped in her truck at a red light.
Oh, no. Okay.
Made her drive to the top of Lopez Canyon.
Okay.
Rape her and beat her to death with a rock.
Oh, God.
A mother of an 8-year-old, a nurse who works the night shift, beat her to death with a rock.
Jesus.
In the meantime, police are like, "Oh, we're keeping Etta Smith."
Okay.
We're keeping her in custody. She gets an attorney who is like, "What are you doing?"
Right.
At some point within the next day or so, they open the door at the Van Nuys police station and say, "Get out."
That was it.
Yep.
Just, oh, God.
No apology, no thank you. They opened the door and said goodbye.
Wow.
She is brought in to testify against the three men for her, what she saw.
Right.
And then she files a suit against LAPD, and it takes like 6 years, but she gets $25,000, which I think is abysmal.
Yeah.
I mean, she was in jail for 4 days.
Yeah.
I said prison, but jail. She's in jail for 4 days. At one point, she was left barefoot on a cold cement cell in December and not given food or water for 24 hours.
Oh my God.
She said, I was stripped bare as a human being and all dignity.
Yeah. Wow.
She is an aerospace engineer.
Jeez.
She gets $24,000. And she has never had a psychic vision since then. She said, I am not a psychic.
Right.
I don't know why me.
Yeah. I mean, even if the visions were coming, you'd shut them down at that point.
I think so too. That's exactly what I thought. Exactly what I thought, Joshua. I thought if she were open to anything, she would be like, look what happens when you tell what you think.
Yeah.
You get put in jail with no food or water for 24 hours, plus no socks or shoes. Taken away from your family, thinking you're going to be charged with murder.
Wow.
I just was like, yeah. So Etta Smith has gone on to be on a couple of like talk shows, but she, any monies that she gets, she donates to, like a nurse's foundation. She has never gotten like a penny. She doesn't want to be famous.
Right.
She is like, the whole time they're saying, explain to me how you know all of this, tell me, where did you get this? What did you do? And she's like, I don't know.
Right.
I can't tell you. And they're like, okay, tell it to us again. Go over your story again. And then it was like, she's like, I get it now. I'm a suspect.
Right.
I get it now. No one's listening to me.
Sure.
It breaks my heart. So I'm going to tell you what I think happened. And my theories are just mine.
Okay.
I was a radio TV film major.
No.
As I got older, first of all, I'm a radio TV film major. Can't fucking tell you how radio works. I don't understand how I turn a dial. And so I pick up something in the airwaves and I get to hear my favorite shit. Can't tell you.
Right.
Also didn't really care much about TV and film. Loved radio.
Yeah.
I'm much more auditory. Obviously, I'm hosting a podcast. So I love sound.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot more imaginative.
Totally.
I'm just not that visual, and I can hear someone and picture something in my head, and maybe I'm picturing it wrong, but it's my vision, right?
Right.
So I think Etta Smith had maybe let her, she's like in her 40s, and she's an aerospace engineer, and, a wonderful citizen, a mother, a good human being. And she'd maybe let her guard down. Maybe, driving can sometimes be automatic.
Totally.
Listening to the radio and the waves came in. But what she heard was Melanie Uribe saying, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in the house. Mm-hmm. She gave them the things she heard.
Right.
Before they checked everything.
Right.
She's not in the house. She's outside. I see in my head, I see a white nurse's uniform. Mm-hmm. Well, you heard that on the radio. I probably did. Right. I don't know if she's dead or alive, but I see a white nurse's uniform and I see the top of this, canyon overlooking Lakeview Terrace. I don't know which one. I don't know the area.
Right.
So she then goes when they're like, okay, how do you know this? Next day they find her truck and then she goes, conveniently with her family and they find Melanie.
Yeah.
I get how you would look at that person, especially in 1980.
Sure. No, from the police perspective, sure. There's somebody who knew
too much. Yeah.
And yeah. So
what I want is for people to open their minds that information's going to come from a lot of different places.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Not all of them are going to be explainable to you.
Right. Yeah, no, but you question her, you get all of her information, but you don't torture her. You don't arrest her and hold her without
food or water or shoes.
or shoes. No. I don't know that you can't do that to any suspect. That's over the line in
Oh yeah. The Geneva Convention.
Right.
I think I am a supporter of law enforcement. I also know there are people who do incorrect things, bad things, especially in the 1960s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
When you can't prove things, like,
Sure.
All we have is her word.
Right.
There weren't cameras or recordings.
Right.
All we have is her word. I believe her.
Yeah.
I think $24,000 was really pathetic for what happened.
Yeah.
Maybe they did $6,000 a day or something for the 4 days she was in jail, thinking I have to find arrangements for my kids. I'm going to be, can you imagine if those three fuck faces hadn't started talking?
Yeah,
and
really.
Right. What if they'd kept it to themselves? She could have gone to prison.
Yeah.
When three people one person confesses, names the other two, all three confess.
Right.
And then they wait and go, well, we don't have anything tying Etta Smith to the case except all the stuff she knew before we knew it. So I guess we got to let her go. No apology. No, thank you. She said they opened the door to her cell and said, goodbye. Goodbye.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So mistakes were made. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
And she never after that.
Of course not. Of course not.
Right.
Because this is no good deed goes unpunished.
Sometimes
this is what you get for opening your mouth. This is what you get for trying to help someone. Well,
right.
Forget it. I'm not going to do it anymore. Of course not.
So the connection with this case is a little eerie. It was three years earlier, 1977, in the Chicago area, and she was also a nurse. She is from the Philippines. She was a 47-year-old nurse, Teresita Basa, and they say she helped solve her own murder. I think that's fascinating that 3 years earlier in Chicago, which apparently is a much more open-minded law enforcement agency, that, they take, I think they passed off the person who worked at the same hospital she did, but didn't know her. They passed her off, but they sure didn't arrest her. Okay. So February of 1977, Chicago police have this murder of this, nurse, Teresita Basa. Teresita Basa. She worked at the Edgewater Hospital. She was found naked, stabbed in the chest with a butcher knife still extended from her. A mattress was put on top of her and set on fire.
Oh, wow.
She lived in a high rise in Chicago, in the 15th floor. And, the fire department's called, and then they see this woman who's naked, stabbed in the chest, and a mattress on top of her. They call the police immediately. She, had no kids. She's, a brilliant, educated woman. She loved music. She had come from the Philippines 10 years earlier in her, mid to late 30s. And there was not a lot of clues left, but there was a note in her diary that said, get tickets for A period S period.
A period, S period.
Yeah. So 6 months into the investigation, it looks like this is going to start to become cold. They get a tip from a surgeon named Jose Chua. Is that how you say it?
Okay.
Chua. He's also from the Philippines, and his
Okay.
wife, Remy, is from the Philippines. And he says, look, I knew this woman worked at my hospital. I did not know her. My wife did not know her. But 3 times in the last 6 months, my wife started talking during a nap or a sleep at night in a different voice.
Oh,
Who said her name was Teresita. She was talking in Tagalog.
Oh.
Remy was familiar with Tagalog, but didn't speak it very much.
Okay.
And what her husband heard was, Doctor, I need to ask for your help. The man who murdered me is still at large.
Oh, wow.
Now, when Remy wakes up from a nap, she's like, I don't know what are you talking about?
Okay, so she had no recollection of it at all. All right.
So the husband is the one taking notes.
Uh-huh.
It happened 3 times. The doctor is like, I was surprised and scared when I asked her name, and she says, Teresita Basa. And he said, she told him, you have nothing to be scared of, but I really need your help.
Wow.
Through his wife.
Wow.
Right. So they come to the police. The doctor comes to the police saying, I don't know if they're going to believe my wife, but I want this to be known. She said that Alan Showery was the man who killed her.
Oh. AS?
Get tickets for AS.
Okay.
And her diary. They were like, I wonder what, I wonder what we do with that. Is that who she was talking about? Dr. and Mrs. Chua are educated, intelligent people. They live in this, extremely expensive house. I wanted the information about whatever they heard or felt, so I am going to listen and act on what they told me. This is Detective Stachula, who is like obviously different than LAPD.
Wow.
He's like, I'm considering the source, which Etta Smith, same source.
Right.
Educated.
Yeah.
Intelligent.
I mean, she's a rocket scientist.
He's a doctor. His wife's a nurse.
Yeah. These are... Yeah.
Okay. So the detective talks to pimps, prostitutes, addicts, every place he could think of where somebody might, might know something. Like who would break, it was it a botched robbery? This poor woman who's, single, lives by herself. And when they get the name Alan Showery, they check on him and they think, okay, he's a janitor at the hospital.
Okay.
He has been in a difficult financial situation, and Teresita Basa had been helping him out by paying him a pretty good amount of money to just do small jobs around her house, like handyman stuff.
Got it.
So they go to Alan Showery's apartment that he shares with his partner. One of the things that Teresita Basa seemed to say through Dr. Chua's wife is, his girlfriend is wearing my jewelry.
Oh, geez.
They find a very expensive necklace that had been her aunt's from the Philippines. And a ring that the girlfriend is wearing. And she said, this was my late Christmas present.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. So Alan Showery denies killing her. I don't know what you're talking about. They take him to the station and they sweat him a little bit. And he finally signs a confession. He said he had gone to her home to help fix her television.
Mm.
He took her clothes off, but he didn't rape her. There was no sign that she'd been raped.
Okay.
But she was naked. Knife still stuck in her chest, mattress on top of her, set on fire.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, as much as the detectives were open to hearing Nurse and Dr. Chua's bizarre thing, the judge was like, you know what? Never in my history have I heard about someone being arrested because of a supernatural vision.
Right.
Police have never been informed of a woman's crime, of a criminal's name by a voice from the grave. Now, what I thought was really funny was that they said, did nurse finger murderer from the grave? And there's a picture of a middle finger. That made me laugh really hard.
Yeah.
That made me laugh really hard. So, a spokesperson for the prosecutor's office said, it's not like we're going to cross-examine a voice. We're not really interested in the supernatural aspect. The voice was an initial tip, but the evidence was developed independently. Yes and no. You were given all of the evidence from someone who couldn't. And they actually even said, could Mrs. Chua gotten the information by hearing it at work from the janitor himself?
Sure.
No.
Oh, why not?
Because she knew things that, no one would know but the murderer.
Oh, okay.
They even thought for a while, should she be considered an accessory? He didn't talk about it at work.
Because he didn't talk well. Okay.
Yeah.
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 Well, I feel like, okay, a tip comes in. They still have a lot of evidence. They have her jewelry in his
girlfriend's, right.
Yeah. That right there is what it doesn't necessarily mean murder, but it does mean, okay, you stole her jewelry. How
would you get it?
Yeah. How? Yeah.
The pieces she wore every day because they were meaningful to her.
Right.
Did you just stumble, like you walked in, oh my God, I was going to help her with her TV and she's dead now. I won't report it. I'll just take her jewelry and then give it to my girlfriend as a present. And then hopefully whoever finds her finds her.
Christmas present.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's so evidence is gathered, real, evidence that you can use to prosecute.
But Dr. and Mrs. Chua are like, hey, why don't you steal this woman's jewelry? We'll set her on fire and kill her for zero reasons.
Yeah.
You have financial difficulties and a sweet woman is, helping you.
Yeah.
So we'll kill her and you take this jewelry that isn't priceless, that you're not going to, fence. You're going to give to your girlfriend.
Right.
Does that help you out? Because you can't buy her a present?
Yeah. See, it doesn't
right.
line up.
So at least, Nurse Chua does not end up in jail.
Right.
Like Etta Smith.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, with all the press around, the psychic thing, which people are unwilling to accept, his first trial ends in a hung jury.
Even after he confessed?
Yeah. Well, no. Ends in a hung jury. Uh-huh. They're deadlocked. A month later, he's waiting for his new trial, and he's like, all right, fine. I'll plead guilty.
Oh. Then
he signed a confession and, before.
Uh-huh.
But, I guess he could say he was coerced.
Okay.
He finally accepts a plea deal. This is terrible in my mind. He is given 14 years for murder, robbery, and arson. He serves
Okay.
He is released, and this publication in Chicago says he lived a quiet life.
Hey, okay.
No one has been able to find him since then.
Okay.
Yeah, he may be dead, but he's off the grid.
Disappeared, sure.
Yep. Isn't that nice? So, two people who had, visions and one person channeling during a nap and during sleep are, not treated well. One is, given a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt. I love that the detective was like, look, I'm used to talking to people on the street who have ulterior motives. This is a long married couple who work in the healthcare field. What would they get out of this?
Right.
I'm going to at least listen to them and see if I can follow up. And he did. And, they got him. And then, poor Etta Smith is held in LAPD Van Nuys Division jail for 4 days, not in great conditions because she said this is what happened. Also, I'm going to say Mrs. Chua never had another incident either.
Oh, okay.
I think sometimes hearing that Mrs. Chua was asleep, I think a lot of people get messages when they're sleeping.
Sure.
Hearing that Etta Smith got a message while driving home from work hearing the radio, I think her dial was tuned to Melanie Uribe's, frequency.
Similar. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think there's anything odd about these things. I wish people, law enforcement and everyone else was a little more open. I don't think it's the devil. I don't think it's, people who are, worshiping the devil who get messages. Right. Both of them are like, this has never happened before and it hasn't happened since. I can't explain it. I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I hope people are more open to things like that. And there are definitely cases where we have heard about this. Like I didn't hear about Melanie Uribe's case for decades after 1980, but I did hear about it. I have never heard about Teresita Basa's case ever. Wow. And they're both super fascinating. And I do not discount the witnesses, whether it was a witness in this plane or another ethereal plane. I don't doubt either of those people.
Totally.
So, in case any listeners have had,
Yeah. If you've got some visions, call in the anonymous tip. And then, then LAPD will never know who you are, right?
Yeah, there's an anonymous. I would never give out LAPD shit unless I have to because they are so not good.
No, I meant reported anonymously through us.
Oh, through us. Yeah. Okay, I can do that. I can always do that. If you have a tip on a missing person or an unsolved homicide, whether you got it in this world or the next, or if you just want us to suggest a case, please give us a call at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. You can email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. You can find us on any of the social media platforms, our Just the Tipsters Facebook page, at JT Tipsters on Instagram, at JT Tipsters Pod on Twitter. And if you are enjoying this content, please consider giving us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you stream your pods. And more cowbell.
If you would like to support this podcast and get early access and other cool murderous swag, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.